harsh in advance. It arrives in mid-February, when winter still holds the fields in a pale grip. Yet, the mind begins to imagine spring. We call it Valentine's Day, and though it now wears bright ribbons of cards and roses, its story is older, stranger, and more human than any satin bow suggests. Long before the name Valentine was spoken with tenderness, Rome kept different rites at this season. February was linked with cleansing and renewal, a turning of the city toward health, order, and the returning light. Romans observed ceremonies of purification and a lively festival later remembered as Lupercalia. It was not a holiday of gentle romance, but of endurance, fertility, and the hope that the year could be coaxed toward abundance by ritual, song, and laughter. Then came the early Christian centuries, a time when faith travelled on foot and rumour, and the empire's roads carried both soldiers and saints. Among the many martyrs remembered by the church were men named Valentine, and history, as it often does, blurred their edges. One tradition speaks of a priest in Rome, another of a bishop in Italy, each refusing to surrender conscience to force. Later legend embroidered the name with warmer colours, secret marriages, comfort offered to the imprisoned, and a final note passed from a cell, a blessing or a farewell. As Christianity grew into public life, the church shaped the rhythm of the year, giving sacred meaning to dates already heavy with older custom. A feast for St. Valentine settled in February, and over time the day carried two kinds of memory at once: the memory of steadfast faith and the memory of winter turning toward spring. In a world where seasons mattered deeply, symbols were never idle. They were a language, and people listened. By the Middle Ages, the story found a gentler music. Poets noticed that February stood at the threshold, and they wrote of birds choosing their mates as the light returned. Courtly love, formal and yearning, rose in the halls of Europe, and the season offered an elegant stage for vows, glances, and carefully measured longing. Geoffrey Chaucer helped fasten the association in the imagination, and the date began to feel like an invitation to speak. In the centuries that followed, private messages became tradition. Lovers and admirers exchanged small notes, verses, and tokens, sometimes witty, sometimes earnest, sometimes daring in their restraint. We still glimpse such tenderness in early surviving Valentines, like the verses Charles, Duke of Orleans, sent to his wife while he was held far from home. The word Valentine itself came to mean a chosen beloved, and a letter might close with a simple promise, "From your Valentine," as if affection were both signature and seal. Paper grew cheaper, literacy more common, and printing more clever. By the Victorian age, ornate cards and decorated envelopes delighted those who enjoyed the theatre of sentiment. And yet, for all its ornament, the heart of the day remained simple, a deliberate act of noticing. The rose, the ribbon, the bright heart. These were only symbols, convenient and old. Some places treated the day as a playful drawing of names, others as a test of handwriting and sincerity. Printing made room for humour and mischief, with tender cards on one side of the street and sharp, teasing ones on the other. Each age left its accent. Still, the best Valentines were never measured by cost, but by attention, a remembered detail, an apology, a promise kept, a hand held a moment longer, and a word spoken when silence would have been easier. The saint behind the name may remain a shadow to us, but the custom he gathered has always pointed towards the same virtue: to treat affection as carried Valentine's Day further still. Advertising and industry gave it scale, and commerce supplied a familiar alphabet of bouquets, chocolates, and bright heart shapes. For some, this widened the holiday's reach. For others, it threatened to flatten it. Yet, beneath the glitter, the older pulse remains. It is a day that asks, politely but persistently, whom do you cherish? To whom do you owe a kindness long delayed? The answer does not need to be grand. A note to a spouse, a drawing from a child, a message to a friend who carried you through a hard season, even a moment of gentleness toward yourself. So, the history of Valentine's Day is not a straight line, but a braided thread. Ancient winter rites, Christian remembrance, medieval poetry, and modern custom, all woven into one familiar date. And perhaps that is fitting. Love itself is rarely pure and simple. It is layered with longing, courage, habit, and hope. On this small day of February, the world pauses, if only for a moment, and remembers to be tender. Stay positive,